Cool. So we're back. We're back doing it.
Hello.
When do you reckon the last time was we did this? I know that we have had 3, maybe 4 seasons of a podcast previously.
Yeah. Well, it was mainly Lucia doing all the recordings, and we were just sort of on now and again. She was so good at that. I'm really bad at it, hence why she did it. Matt's always been really good at talking, though, so he'll keep the conversation flowing, I'm sure.
It's not true. In fact, I have almost like a phobic fear of speaking publicly. And to help that, the first time we had to properly pitch someone live, you brought me a t-shirt that had a massive Q on the front of it that was like XXL. And for context, I'm about 5'7", so I looked like Alvin from the Chipmunks, except with a Q on the front. Just stood up on stage, and it was one of these presentations where you literally have to walk around the stage. You're mic'd up, and so I had to very cleverly like flick the shirt behind my back and try and make it sort of not look quite as long and drapey like a big dress. So that didn't help my public speaking phobia. Yeah, it wasn't great.
And it was a awful place to be as well, because it was like quite an intimate setting, yet there was about 90 seats, all like these glass chairs. And it was like basically it was our first time ever pitching in front of loads of people as well. So it was nerve-wracking. And then you get all these questions after.
There ended up being about 100 people there, because it was standing room only. All the chairs were taken. There were people standing at the sides, at the back. Everyone had like clipboards and diaries and making notes. They were all dressed up in their smart suits and just listening to every word that you're saying very carefully, looking very smart and intelligent. And then I'm stood at the front wearing a blouse, essentially.
The biggest queue ever.
Yeah, mic'd up. So yeah, that was. But anyway, since over time, I've got a little bit more comfortable with the fact that as a business owner, I've had to do some speaking. And to be honest, I'm normally pretty comfortable talking about business. It's just when you've
grown into the Quuu shirt.
I've grown outwards over the years, and we've learnt to order in the right size, which helps. But yeah, I like speaking about business, and so I'm quite happy to be picking up the podcast again for a 4th season, or maybe a 5th season. We'll have to double check on it, but we'll stick with conversations with Quuu. And what would be amazing is if over the course of this like renaissance of the podcast, we could actually get some of the old guests back. I don't know if those people would be up for it, but like get those guests back and see where they're at now in their journey compared to when we spoke to them pre-COVID, like 4, 5, 6 years ago, even maybe, just to see, are they still in business? Have they sold their companies? What's their new projects? All those things. It'll be really, really interesting to see. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it'd definitely be fun to catch up with a few of them, because I mean, since then we haven't really spoken to them at all. I think because of COVID, and then the environment changes, APIs changed, Quuu it's been flat for God knows how many years. When you're not the belle of the ball, you're not the most popular people anymore. People don't really want to talk to you anymore. So we gotta try, and I'm sure they're gonna love listening to this. But we got to try and pull them back in.
Start it off with some positivity. Yeah. I just noticed that we're wearing like matching t-shirts color. That wasn't even remotely intentional. I don't have an emblem. I don't know what that is. Is that, have you spilled food green on it, or is it? Oh, is it? Mine's like, I don't know how you describe it, like brown.
Mine's army green, so you're not supposed to be able to see it really. But,
Yeah. Mine sort of looks the same color on my screen. Anyway, just by the by, welcome back to Conversations with Quuu. I'm Matthew Spur. It's Daniel Kemp.
I'm Daniel Kemp. Sorry. First time we're going to do the introduction.
That's it. Well, I think we should play that back every time now at the beginning of every episode.
That's the official thing.
That's the intro. We founded Quuu 8.5 years ago now. And for those of you who aren't aware and you've just stumbled across this podcast, Quuu is essentially a social media and content marketing software tool It has two sides. One where we help people find content to share on social media and automate that. And the other side where we help content creators, people doing podcasts, blogs, presentations, like could be anything really, to essentially connect their work with more people wanting to share it on social media with their followers. So it overcomes that problem of I've just spent a week writing a blog, I published it, a few people have liked it, and then it's died off. Now we've got a solution where we can match that with people that have said that they're interested in exactly that subject, and happily it will go out every day for them continually. So it helps their content continue to keep working for them. So that's Quuu, and we're in a really interesting phase of our development with Quuu now, which we'll talk about later, but all in good time. We want these podcasts to be a discussion about all things business, tech, the lot. But we'll have to be calling upon our knowledge and experiences with Quuu along the way, because that's what it's all about, right?
Yep, exactly.
So, well, when we started working together, when did we actually start working together, Dan? Like before Quuu? What year
Probably
was it?
2013. 2013.
Yeah, it sounds about right. After my first company, and then I'd done a bit of work experience with my father-in-law working abroad. That was a good experience for me down in South America. And we started working immediately remotely, which at the time was quite unique, wasn't it? There was really nobody.
Yeah, no one was doing it. No.
Yeah, literally zero people doing remote working. And so it felt like a massive novelty, but it also just felt incredibly easy for us because we were just doing a branding agency. There was no call for it. We could use clients wherever we were, talk to them via... What did we use at the time?
Skype at the time.
Oh my God, we used Skype. Sorry, Microsoft, but yeah, we used Skype. And then we had like another software. Oh, what was it? What was that called that we thought was amazing? It wasn't. It was like we could put like a filter on where it gave us a hat, and we were like, "This is incredible! It's the future."
Oh,
what was it called? It was called
remember.
Like Get Chat or something. Anyway,
we're going back too far now.
Going back too far, but I just things were pretty basic, but they worked, and everything was fine. And yeah, things have changed a lot.
It sounds so normal now, but when you go back and think about it, it felt so new. No one was really working. No one had heard of Zoom. That wasn't even a thing. So yeah, we were there before it was cool, and we're still here now, even after it's not cool anymore.
Do you think that Zoom's almost become like one of those things where it's the Rolls Royce of something? Like people will say like Hoover the living room instead of vacuum it, and they're just using a brand. Do you think like Zoom is like, oh, I'll send you a Zoom link, and then they use like Google Meets or something? Do you think that's
probably? Yeah, I think it's become a verb in itself. I think mainly because of COVID. And Joe Wicks, I don't know if anyone outside of the UK knows Joe Wicks, but during COVID he did these exercise videos on YouTube, and basically all the kids were told to do it. So, and it was streamed over Zoom, so it became famous mainly because of that. And then after that, everyone basically used Zoom going forward. And I think people are just going off Zoom now. We're definitely off Zoom. We don't use Zoom anymore. It's usually Google Meets or in virtual reality.
Or if someone insists upon sending us a Zoom link, and it's like, yeah, fine. But yeah,
if we have to.
Yeah, so actually, yeah, VR, that was where I was going with this. Is like when we started, we were like Stone Age sort of tech, but it all worked fine. But where we are now, I don't think either of us would have thought that was how it was going to be. So, like, I don't know if you've seen any of like my recent TikToks, but like me and Dan do a lot of VR stuff now, and Pete's our developer. We'll jump into workrooms, which is essentially like a series of different office environments, and you can have different layouts, share your screen, and you're all your own avatar. You can have like massive screens. It's very, very easy. It's incredibly intuitive, and like it feels like you are in an office, because if you turn left, your avatar turns left and the person to your left is there, and they can wave at you. You can high
You can high
five
five them.
and fist bump, and it's insane. And like it doesn't matter how much I screen record it and show it to people, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." It's not the same when you're in the zone wearing your headset. Everything's huge. Like there is literally a beach next to you. You can hear the waves crashing on the sea. It looks like you should be able to feel your desk, and often you can feel your desk because when you set it up, you sort of draw where your desk is, you do your desk height, and so where your desk looks like in your virtual reality, when you go to touch it, you feel your desk. So it's so real that like there are times when I've gone to go and high five down and gone bang and put my hand through the wall. And likewise when we play golf together for a bit of a break, it's that same experience. You know, I've gone to like drop my putter on the ground, and I've actually dropped the controller on the ground and been like, oh my god, I forgot. It's crazy. Yeah. So
yeah, we've had it for months now, and I thought, based on everyone else's opinions of VR, was that we were going to buy it, we're going to use it for a bit, and then it was just going to be put on a shelf and never used again. But we've used it every single working day since we've had it, and I think it's been one of the best pieces of tech. In this particular piece of tech is the MetaQuest 3 for us specifically. So yeah. I can't imagine what the Apple Vision Pro is going to be like.
This bad boy.
Once we get to test that in the UK. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's very overpriced. But we'll come back to that later, I guess. But I don't know about you, but I did think, well, firstly, I thought the MetaQuests were going to be like a glorified version of the Nintendo Wii. It all seemed a bit jokey with the avatars, and a bit sort of cheesy, and I thought, it's going to be a bit rubbish. I was blown. I had to completely backtrack on that and eat my words because it was really good. And I also thought I wouldn't be able to work in it for a long time. But there's been days where we've, had 6 hours wearing it, and my eyes haven't felt weird. I've been absolutely fine, and I actually find myself wanting to work more because I want to put it on and sort of escape into this world. Like I want to sit at a Buddhist monk temple at the top of it, like with like 5 massive screens the size of cinema screens or something. Like you can just change your environment completely.
Yeah, I mean, there's this one room you can go in. It's like a music room, like a music visualization room. So you go in. You sit down at the thing. There's no desk because it's like you're floating, but you've got as many screens as you need, and music's playing in the background, and the graphics around you are all like moving in time with the music. So it's like you can completely get lost in this environment, and just it's like deep work. You get right into it. Like the old way of doing that was just to put Spotify on with your headphones and sort of get wired in and just get into work. But now this new way is like it's next level.
It is.
I mean, the resolution is perfect. It's not perfect, but it's good enough to be able to work even with like design tools and stuff and coding. So yeah, I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, there's slight degradation of it when your headset battery's low or your Wi-Fi connection isn't great. But other than that, like I would say that it's better than most people would expect it to be.
Definitely was for me. I wasn't expecting it to be that good, but it's really
only good. Problem, you can't generally do it when you're in public because you just look like a complete and utter knobber.
I think that would just become more normal, like working remotely.
Yeah.
More and more people will have these things on their face, and it will just become more normal.
So one thing that you might think would be a big problem to wearing this is that you can't see around your immediate environment, but you may have seen in like adverts from Apple, probably more so, about pass-through where you can actually see your environment around you as well if you want, or you can have complete immersion. So like if you're completely immersed in an environment, you can only see your keyboard essentially so that you can type, and you do that by selecting a number of portals that you can make as big or as small as you like. So I could have like one in front of my keyboard, and I could have one like on the door, so if someone walks in I can see who it is, but it's just like a little portal through the environment. It's very, very clever. And again, just really, you can just grab it with your fingers and move it around and make it bigger. So yeah, I definitely think that the working world has changed beyond all recognition, and since we started this podcast.
Yeah, AI especially.
It's kind of funny to look back on it. I mean, AI, we'll have to have an entire episode or 20 dedicated to that, because obviously a lot of the things that we do these days are very, very, very strongly entrenched in AI. It sort of has to be honest. But yeah,
including crazy. The new Quuu.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, let's talk about how our lives have been, sort of in terms of Quuu, how it's been affected over the years. Because probably when we were talking about Quuu last time on the podcast, we were still an incredibly fast growing, exciting startup. And, I wish I could sit here and say, it's sold for 10 billion and we're still doing a podcast, but it's not the case, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I think maybe the podcast was even longer ago, actually, thinking about it. The years have just flown by. It take us back to 2018, which is when, when our growth was shooting off like a rocket ship, like the way we wanted and set out to do. But yeah, we were totally destroyed basically by various changes in APIs and policy changes on Twitter, back when it was called Twitter. But we managed to ride the storm enough to stay alive. But since then, we've always been flat, so it's been tough for us. We've gone through, I don't know how many team members, trying to change things as we go and trying to stay alive with X amount of money in the bank. And, the investors are on your back, telling you to put all the money into ads and just see how it goes. And, so we won't get into that right now, but one day that would be a good story to tell.
Yeah.
But the fact is we're still here, and AI is giving us a completely new opportunity. So over the past year, we've sort of been experimenting with things, and now with the new version of Quuu that's going to go live, I'll say beginning of February 2024, just in case this podcast goes out after that. So we're really excited about that new version of Quuu. So far, after a few tests over the past few weeks, it's like next level. It's back to being excited about Quuu again, as opposed to just being
coasting along. I think like the problem is that we were coasting along, and then we experimented largely with an agency model as a hybrid alongside our software model, our sort of SaaS model, and that was very good for revenue, but not as good in terms of scaling time wise. It requires more employees, a lot more time commitment, whereas the software sort of recurring revenue model it scales better. And where we've taken the product now feels like we're a new startup again, which is another reason why I'm really excited to start a podcast again, like give it like another bash, essentially, because it feels like a completely new book, not just a new chapter. And I just want to pick up where we left off when we were growing like balls, because that was an exciting time.
Yeah, and I feel that we're going to get there again. I think we will get there again. We just had with any startup, no matter who you are, you need a bit of luck along the way. If you don't get any luck, you're not going anywhere. Is there anyone out there that says that they can guarantee your startup's going to grow without luck? Then they're talking shit, basically.
Oh, there's loads of douchebags on TikTok saying that.
Yeah.
Do you know, so one of the things that does my absolute head in is on TikTok, just searching for like marketing or startups or business, the number of people that you get that are like, I question whether or not they've ever had a job for more than a year in marketing or even have their own company, but they're telling you how easy it is to start making 10,000 a month, like just doing this and this. All they have to do is sign up for my newsletter for $500 a month, and it's like, oh my god, like just kill me now. Like it's such a con.
There's plenty of those.
Yeah. So all these people. I mean, I would just say to you, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Well, that reminds me, if you do want to earn 10 grand a month, I do have a course. There's a link in my profile.
Yeah, just visit my link tree. I hate that.
Choose one of the various
so
courses. What you want to learn, and I will teach you.
There are people out there who for a temporary period of time will have a template for success in a certain area of marketing, because of the way things are. But because of the nature of it, things change. Algorithms change, behavioral patterns change, trends change, and the same system won't always work all the time. You always need to be adapting, and that's the truth. So the real answer is have your finger on the pulse and work really hard and be passionate about it, be original, connect with people. That's the key. Have a good product. Have a really good product. That's going to help. But even having a really good product, that isn't enough. You could have the best product in the world. And I think that we do have one of the best products in the world. But I just think now we need to have the very best marketing. And you need a good dose of luck and timing. You have to have everything in order to get that huge, overcome that inertia and get that big kick of success and get the ball rolling. I'm not sure if I mixed 100%. Metaphors there. I'm really good at mixing metaphors. I don't think I did, but
we like doing that.
Well, yeah, me and Dan mix metaphors on purpose a lot of the time, but we do it with a completely deadpan tone, so it just looks like we've got it wrong, just to annoy people.
That is the point.
That is the point.
Yes. Yeah, it's also important to know that each growth method that you try, even if it is working, will only work for so long, and then it will stop working. So you've got to constantly be testing lots of different ways and methods. Throw more stuff at the walls, that the ones that do seem to be working, and then as you're constantly testing over time, they will stop working, and then you have to go and find other ways to grow. So it's a constant battle, really. Yeah, finding things that work. And if you can't find anything that work, you're never going to grow, even if you do have the best product. So you just need to try lots of different things.
Yeah, you need to
find a few things that work.
Every channel. Yeah.
So which is a tough one, because if you're probably a single founder, or even if you're like me and Matt, where there's two of you, you simply can't do everything. All the marketing channels, all the different various ways of doing it. Paid advertisements and podcasts and videos, and there's so much. There's endless. You can't do everything, so you have to do a few things that you hope will work. What's working? Do more of that. Find out something else. Keep it iterating.
Yeah, I think
if you're get a bit of luck along the way.
If you're very clever in how you do it as well, in a very systematic way, then you can spot trends and correlations quicker. So, for example, if you start posting on social media, and there's obviously so many different ways that you can post on social media, like you can do text heavy things to music. You can go along the line of using like memes and be funny. You could go along the line of like longer form content where you're talking just straight to camera and trying to provide as much value as possible. Or you can, repost other people's things and give your own commentary on it. Use very distinctive styles. Then you'll start to see quite quickly which things tend to get the most likes from your target audience. And then when you've done that, you can start to look a little bit more closely at like what times of day seem to work best, what length of post works best. Does it work better when there's a bit of a soundtrack on the back? Like, do I get more engagement when I ask a question in the comments? All these different things, and you very quickly start to build up a picture of the ideal post for your social media or for your marketing or for your audience. And so it's just about going through things in a very systematic, structured way, just to save yourself time. Because if it's completely haphazard, then you're going to end up being none the wiser after 6 months of posting content on social media. You'll have a load of content, but you won't really know what is going to be the most helpful for your growth. So it's sort of scattergun, but with some intention and structure, right?
Yeah, as long as you can measure it, and then which we always have a problem with, measurement.
That's what she said.
So if anyone can recommend measurement tools, analytics tools in the comments, then I'm all ears.
Well, I mean,
especially now Google Analytics is shat its pants.
Shat the bed. I mean, to be honest, that's another episode all in itself, talking about business analytics and insights. I don't know why they're so unreliable and inconsistent with one another. It feels like something that should be completely and utterly absolute. Like, there's one figure. That's the figure. Everyone reports it, but on a different skinned like design.
Yeah, no. A perfect example of that is like Stripe and using an analytics tool like Profitwell or ChartMogul. I won't single anyone out, but there will be different numbers. It's all based on Stripe's numbers, but somehow they end up with different numbers. It's like, how is this possible? And that's the same for pretty much anything. Yeah,
we've suffered from this since day one, really, haven't we? Especially with Quuu Promote, because we've tracked the parameter, like the UTM parameter of like every post that we've ever promoted. If there's a click, it puts a click by it. We've tried to filter out any crawling bots and stuff, so that we don't accidentally report like fake clicks or shares. And then people say, well, it doesn't correlate with what Google Analytics says. It's like, well, how are we supposed to?
What can we do? Yeah,
don't know what to do.
So we're hoping
it's
that,
a tough one.
Now we're going to be, and now we're going to connect directly to social media accounts rather than going through a third party like Buffer or Hootsuite. We're hoping that we're going to get more direct data that we can use, because we're sort of, what's the saying? Lost in the woods. We can't see the wood through the trees. Is that the saying?
Can't see the wood for the trees.
In terms of data from, we can't see any wood because Buffer and HubSpot and Hootsuite are all in the way. Yeah. So we need to get rid of them, chop them down, and we can see.
Chop them
and we
down.
can give our users.
Yeah.
Then we can see all the data and we can give it to our users properly and hopefully be a bit more, even more transparent than we try to be already.
Yeah. So in short, it's been a bumpy ride, and I think that should be the default expectation for most people in business, that it is going to be a bumpy ride. But
maybe that's what we should call the podcast.
It's a bumpy ride. Actually, it's quite a good name. All right, maybe it is. We're gonna. I mean, it's going to be a fluid process of learning to podcast. Now that Lucia has left us, but it's been an enjoyable one. And we've learnt a lot, and we still have a healthy company on our hands, which is the important thing. We've weathered just about every possible storm, global pandemics and API changes, and just almost everything that you could imagine has been thrown at us, and we're still here. So, we've got to just give ourselves a pat on the back, and then move on and try and really grow fast. Because at the first 3 years, we thought, this business game's easy, isn't it? But if you could change one thing,
everything went our way. Yeah.
If you could change one thing now, looking back, what would you do?
I don't think it's hard because it was totally out of our control what happened in 2018. And so it's hard to know what had changed at that point.
When Buffer removed the tokens on all of our users, basically disconnecting like all of our users, 70% of them. Yeah,
and obviously then you got to try and get people back in again, and it was a faff. I think we lost like $9,000 a month in MRR because of that one issue, and for us that was at the time a huge percentage.
Yeah, I think we were probably on about 20k MRR at the time, maybe more.
No, I think it was 30 something, and we lost nine.
We lost about a third of our revenue.
Yeah,
a third of our recurring revenue. Yeah. I mean, I know what I would change. I would have whacked Quuu on some acquisition platform. What was then called Micro Acquire, now called Acquire. I should rep the brand. Hold on.
I actually think back in 2018, I don't think it was even that easy to. Yeah, there we go. I don't think it was even that easy to do that, was it? I don't think there were any like directories where you could just stick it on. Maybe Flipper, but then that was more for like e-commerce at the time.
But I mean, we could have sold it. We just didn't know. We didn't know that. The first business that I'd sold was done because one of my own clients reached out and said he's interested in starting his own business. And I happened to have been thinking about moving on from the business that I was running, which was a PR company for poker players. So it sort of made sense, and it came about organically. Had I gone into starting Quuu knowing like get some quick parabolic growth and then sell it, you'll get a big multiple, and then you can move on, have the cash flow and independent wealth to start more businesses, then hell yes, I'd have done that. So yeah,
and back then the multiple would have probably been more like 10 to 20x.
Do you reckon?
Not even, back then.
I was thinking 6 to 8x, but yeah. It was fast. I remember looking back at some of our old shareholder reports last week and just thinking, crikey, that was good. Those were good times. Yeah. But we'll get that back. Yeah. We'll get it back. And we're going to document the process of us doing it here. All the warts and all, but hopefully not many warts, mainly really good stuff.
No warts at all.
No warts, yeah.
Perfect skin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, right, well, that, it's been nice reminiscing about Quuu on the sort of renaissance of the podcast. Why don't we have a bit of tech talk?
Yeah.
Going back to the subject of VR, which is like close to our heart at the moment. We recently got the X Reels Air 2 Pro. I think that's what they're called. It's a very long-winded name. And typically, the moment we bought it, they brought out like an X Reels Air 2 Pro Plus or something. Just to annoy us. But those are like the sunglasses. And they're not like a full-on VR headset. But they're pretty cool, and you can imagine sort of wearing these on a plane or in a cafe and not looking like a complete wally, and being able to get work done. So like you can have like 3 pretty large screens in front of you, wearing these, and you can watch like Netflix and YouTube and stuff on it. There's no battery in them. They just plug into your phone or your MacBook or this little device called a Beam that sits in your pocket and lasts quite a long time. So pretty good for travel, but neither of us really wear them because they're very hard to use, right? I mean, what's your experience, Dan?
Yeah, I think if I hadn't used the MetaQuest prior to trying on the X Reels, then I probably would have been more impressed. I think the main issue for me, when you've got 3, so say you've got the X Reels on in a you're in a cafe or whatever, and you've got 3 screens, which is great. But because of the lens in the glasses, you've sort of got a rectangle that you look through. Mm-hmm. So you can't actually see all 3 screens at the same time. You've got to move your head to see the other screen, which is normal, I know, but without, like, you can't see them in your peripheral vision, if you know. It's hard to explain, but hopefully that does explain it. And I think if you didn't have that and you had that peripheral, it would feel much more natural. So you just got to get used to looking through sort of a letterbox effect.
Yeah, I didn't realize like how much when I have screens in front of me or when I'm using VR, I will just sort of not move my head, but just glance at the other screen to do stuff. It might be a micro movement, but wearing these X-Reel sunglasses, that wouldn't work. Like you would have to do a deliberate look across like that just to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, like how pampered and stupid do we sound saying that that's an inconvenience?
Yeah. I said, if I didn't use the MetaQuest, then you probably wouldn't be
good, yeah.
So bad, yeah.
I've decided to keep them in my car because then if I want to go work in a cafe or something like that, I can just grab them out of my car and do that, and be okay.
I think the number one thing I'm going to use it for is travel and mainly watching a movie or something like that. Because if I'm in a train, then if I've got my laptop there, I might as well just use my laptop. Whereas with a movie and you connect it to your phone, it does actually feel like you're watching, a 200-300 inch screen. So for that, it's great.
Yeah,
it's for working, not so much.
Yeah, that's the other pro actually, is that you can lie in your bed with your head on a pillow and wear these quite comfortably. Whereas if you try and put those massive headsets on, they're not as comfortable. Like you have to do a lot of fiddling around to get them right. But yeah, talking of
so
travel,
far nothing beats the Quest 3.
talking of travel hacks, definitely that would be one, taking those with you. But I saw the other day someone take ramen pots. These like little instant ramen pots, like a pot noodle but smaller and just filled with whatever. On a flight, they had like 3 or 4 of them, and just asked the like air hostess for like boiling water, just like instant, wicked, decent meals if you don't want the whatever the airplane food is. Great idea. Good idea that.
So you're allowed to take that in? Like, there's not no liquid in it, I suppose. So
yeah, I think so. I mean,
Never
there may
really
be some
thought
countries that are quite strict. I mean, I imagine like Australia would be really strict on it, having seen the customs programs about Australia border force. They're just like
Murky.
pretty cracked down, but I'm sure they'd be okay with ramen pots. Probably not sure. Good hack though.
Probably have to open it and pour it out. Yeah.
Yes. And yeah, what about so yeah, X-Real Pros are a sort of a miss, but they have their place in travel. What about our favourite, the MetaQuest, versus the unknown quantity of the Apple Vision Pros?
Well, yeah, so far from all the videos, I think it's mainly just the quality, the resolution quality is the main difference. Because so far, everything you can do in an Apple Vision Pro, you can do in a MetaQuest. Probably better at this time.
So you mean Apple Vision is supposed to be better?
In terms of resolution, yeah. But is it 10 times the price?
It actually is that price differential, isn't it? It's like 8x. I mean, if you buy all of the things that we have with the MetaQuests, or you know, like the case and Pro strap and stuff, it's probably more like 8x. But even so, it can't be 8 times better. It just can't be.
No, and I think that's the only way the MetaQuest would improve is obviously the resolution clearer again. Because obviously there is a difference between just looking at your monitor versus looking at the monitor via the MetaQuest headset, but not enough to be annoying. It's totally fine. I mean, until we've actually tried on the Apple Vision Pro, we can't say definitively. But yeah, but for 10x the price, then
you almost can.
That's the point at the moment.
Yeah, because if it were like 10x better, then like the marketing would be unreal, and I would almost be like, yes, I will pre-order it, because that'd be incredible.
Yep. No, I'm definitely excited to look at it because obviously we're Apple fanboys. You know, we've got Apple everything. So
me too. Apart from
once that becomes more of a normal price, you know, more mainstream price, then I think maybe we'll probably have a look at it. And once it's actually available in the UK, because it's currently not.
Yep.
But, so far, the Quest 3 is sufficient.
Doing us proud, yeah.
Cool. Love it.
Well, this has been a good first Conversations with Quuu. It's a bumpy road, whatever we're going to end up calling it. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Hopefully you've enjoyed it too. Yeah, we'll get uploading these on a regular basis, and look forward to maybe inviting you guys to write in with some questions, topics that you want us to cover off, questions about our experiences for us to be able to answer, and we'll try and honestly answer them in as much detail as we can in the next ones. Cool. All right.
Thanks very much.
Catch you on the next one. Bye.
See ya.